You may please check whether my slides are visible.
Sir, it's still showing as presenting. Still, it's not visible.
Uh, Sir, I think you have to open the
PPT.
concern page.
One second, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sir, it's visible now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. It, now the full screen mode is on. Are you
Yeah, we
able
can.
to see that?
Yes, 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 sir. We
Yes,
can.
sir.
Okay. Thank you. The topic given to me is defining the need for smart grid. So I have planned my talk as giving an introduction to smart grid and where the electric vehicle technology stand in smart grid for supporting us to do lot of research. So I begin the talk with certain data or certain statistics with respect to our Indian grid. See, when we got independence, the total installed capacity of India was 1.4 gigawatt. I hope everyone can understand when I say the installed capacity. Installed capacity means the total power generation capability. This is what I can do. During operation, I may not generate the complete power. Some plants may be in operation, some plants may be in shutdown stage for maintenance. Some plant may not have fuel to operate. So total installed capacity means I will be able to generate this much power if everything is right. It was 1.4 gigawatt during independence. And if we see this installed capacity, it was growing continuously and reached a value of 326 gigawatt by 2017. I have the statistics of past few years starting from 2017. So here you can see after 60 years of independence, it's not 60, 70 years of independence, we could see a drastic change or enormous growth in the total installed capacity. Almost 300 times there is a growth. This is needed because the load is continuously growing. That's why India is developing. You know, the development of a nation is measured by various parameters. One of the parameters is per capita energy consumption. How much electricity we use in our day-to-day life as a common man, right? So since the need of electricity, the use of electricity in our day is increasing, keep on increasing, because of that load is growing continuously and we have lot of generating plants using conventional, non-conventional energy sources and we reached 326 gigawatt by 2017. We did not stop at that level. we are keep on growing. By 2018, the IC was 344 gigawatt. Here you can notice different sectors were participating. Central sector power generation, state sector power generation, and private sector power generation. Totally 344 gigawatt. You can see the pie chart where 30 percentage contribution comes from state owned power generating stations. Few power generating stations owned by Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, few power generating stations owned by AP Genco, few power generating stations owned by Maharashtra State Electricity Board, like this. Every state government owns their own power generating station. Other hand, 25% of the total power generation of India is contributed by central power generating stations. Who are they? The NTPC power generating stations, Ramagundam thermal power plant, Neyveli Lignite Corporation, atomic power stations are the central sector power generating stations. They contribute for 20%. And rest of the power generation comes from private sector. Private sector may contribute through coal-fired thermal power plant or gas power plant, diesel power plant, or it can be renewable energy based power generation. Totally we have 45% from private sector. This happened because of the transmission open access introduced in Indian power grid during 2003 itself. Slowly the private sector was growing. Okay, all of you heard about restructuring of power system. The restructuring of power system concept gives opportunity for the growth of independent power producers, IPPs. They can produce power, sell it to any state through the existing transmission infrastructure. That's why it is called as transmission open access. Right? Transmission open access. This concept of transmission open access was not new. It had been implemented in many countries across the world, and in India also it was introduced before say 15 years. Because of that, the private
Hello,
power
sir.
sector were continuously.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello.
Sir, your slides is not changed, I hope so.
We are not able to see your full screen, sir. We are not
One
able
second.
to see your full screen.
One second, I'll check. Sometimes I face this problem in Google Meet. One second.
Sir, it is visible now.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I was discussing about this, the fraction of power generation from every sector. By 2018, we reached 344 gigawatt. In that, again, there was a contribution from central, state and private sector. And by 2019, we reached 356 gigawatt, and you can see that there is a growth in the private sector participation, 46.6% now, state sector 28.5%, and central 25.2%. If you closely observe this growth and if you probe the contributions from each sector in detail, you will be able to observe, or you will be able to note that there is a growth in renewable energy power generation. That's why the private sector is concentrating on renewable energy resources now. It is because the government has introduced a lot of schemes starting from large scale power generation to rooftop solar PV systems. Because of that, now the private power producers are concentrating on more renewable energy integration into the grid. By 2020, we reached 370 gigawatt. Again, we can observe constantly the private sector is growing. Of course, there is a growth in state sector slightly and in the central sector also. But investment on conventional power plants are reducing. Sometimes there may be an expansion in the existing power plant. Other than that, our concentration is only on integrating more renewables. Of course, there may be lot of advantages as well as disadvantages. We have to tackle the disadvantages to gain the advantages from renewable energy. So with that, we are growing. We can understand that grid is expanding its power generation. And if you look at the forecasting of load, by 2030, we will be reaching around 550 gigawatt as our load. Total load, it's a demand, projected demand, 550. So by looking at the previous slide, you could learn that the total generation available is 370. It is only the installed capacity. I have given you an idea what is installed capacity and what is going to be in operation. Maybe 80% of this may be in operation. So here 550 gigawatt load we have to meet within next 10 years. So installed capacity should grow at least from 370 to 570. 200 gigawatt power should be integrated into the grid within next 10 years. Look at the possibilities. Can I plan for coal-fired thermal power plant, or can I plan for atomic power plant, or can I plan for hydro power plant? Finally, our choice will be towards the renewable energy. Renewable energy. Of course, we will have conventional power plant. There will be a growth which will be also added in the grid. But you can observe a sudden growth in the renewable energy integration. From 2002 to 2022, within 20 years, you can see that there is a change of say 100%, I can say. In 2000 we were 1% integration renewable. Now we have nearly 100%, 98 gigawatt. Now we are at 100 gigawatt approximately, say. 2030, within next 10 years, it is projected that we will have next 135 gigawatt power from this renewable. Renewable, again, it is a combination of wind, biomass, solar and small hydro. Of course, in recent years, we can notice the growth in solar energy because of the reasons, n number of reasons. I can quote: reduction in the solar cell cost, lot of government plans to introduce solar energy. All of you might have heard about Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission that encourages large scale investment and small scale investment at the rooftop level. So by including all these things, we will be having nearly 150 gigawatt additional capacity by next 10 years. So approximately we may have 250 gigawatt from renewable to meet this 550 megawatt. Again, rest of the 300 megawatt from conventional sources. Conventional or synchronous machine based power plants, you say. I will come little depth in electrical. Okay, let it be a coal fired thermal power plant or hydro power plant or atomic power plant. The machine used is rotating machine, synchronous machine. All of you can appreciate what is the unique feature of a synchronous machine. It can operate in all four quadrants. It can provide you real power, it can absorb real power, it can provide you reactive power, it can absorb reactive power. And mainly the synchronous machine supports the grid whenever there is a disturbance, because it can store kinetic energy in its mass, rotating mass. That is the great advantage of such power plants. Whenever the grid faces some disturbances,
Your slides are not.
immediately the kinetic energy.
Mama, am I there? Hello.
Yes.
Sir, actually your slide is not changing.
May I know in which slide I am? You are able to see? Can you read the content?
No, sir, actually it was struck, so I was unable to read the content.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Evolution of electric grid.
It has been zoomed, sir.
Actually, you have to put your presentation.
Evolution of electric grid.
Participants, kindly switch off your mic.
One second, madam. Now, can anyone say what are you seeing on the screen?
Sir, evolution of electric grid only. I think
Slide number 2, sir. Second slide.
Ma'am, sorry for the interruption. Ma'am, Premlata ma'am, is it visible, ma'am, for you?
No, I am also able to see the second slide only. Now it is moving on to the third slide.
Okay, ma'am.
Ah.
Sir, it is visible now. Oh, okay. Again, it
One
has been
minute.
disconnected. Sir, it is visible now.
Yes, madam. Now you are able to see the full screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Slides are changing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maybe lot of software installation on the laptop making some issues.
No
Okay.
issues, sir.
Yeah. So I was discussing at this point. Out of 550 megawatt, we are going to have 250 approximately from renewable. So you can see that 50% share from renewable within next 10 years. I was telling about the synchronous machines, right? It is a wonderful device which helps the grid to survive during the disturbances, that you can easily understand whenever you have done your experiment on load test, alternator load test. As soon as you change the load, you can observe that there is a decrease in speed, but your electrical load is always supplied. That you can appreciate when you do the experiment with lamp loads instead of resistance. As soon as you switch on lamps, your lamps will be keep on glowing, but the generator of the speed drops. This is what 1 minute. I need to attend one call, very important call. I'm sorry. 1 second.
In meanwhile, let me give some general instructions about regarding this FDP. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form, which is provided in the chat box, which will be provided at the end of the session, and this will be counted for the attendance. Also, I request the participants to kindly join 5 minutes prior to the each session. At the end of this 5-day FDP on the 5th day, during the last session, an examination will be conducted based on the sessions conducted, and the questions will be asked from the sessions conducted. Also, it is mandatory that 80% of the attendance and 60% of mark in the test are mandatory to get the certificate from ATEL Academy. And participants should keep their mic off, and your questions can be asked at the end of the session. Thank you.
Sorry, I am back again.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So you might have noticed, if you have done any electrical engineering lab, the speed drops. By reducing its speed, actually it releases the kinetic energy to immediately meet the electrical load. That is the great advantage of having a rotating machines in the grid. But in near future, we are going to reduce the amount of synchronous machine based systems or power plants in the grid, and we are going to have a lot of renewable energy integration with the grid through inverter based technology. Right? Of course, as I said, every technology will have two phases, their advantage as well as disadvantage. Some researchers will focus on advantages, some researchers focuses on disadvantages, so that you get new research problems, right? So plenty of advantages in renewable energy integration. Of course, there are some challenges when you keep on integrating renewable into the grid, while if you compare the ratio, sometimes we may cross 50%, more than 50%, 60%, 70% from renewable and 30% from conventional. That will not happen today. Maybe after 10 years, 20 years, that happens. The grid will lose the inertia support. This is the major research problem one can note down to work out, right? even if you go through the literature, again there are a lot of solutions researchers are suggesting to handle this situation. That's why we are all surviving, right? Particularly the academicians. We are able to read the papers and could contribute something to improve, right? So please note down, this is one of the key points which you can consider later whenever the renewable energy growth is going to dominate in the grid is going to face a lot of issues in terms of inertia. Okay. And right now, this is what our grids. You can see, I hope you can see a black box on the screen. Any response?
Yes, sir, we are able to see, sir.
Yeah. And we have some clear white screen, and in that I have shown a power plant, then some of transmission lines, parallel lines, then a single line feeding power into a black box. The idea behind this picture is we have better visualization of the grid operation up to certain level. Let it be generating station or let it be a transmission infrastructure, 400 kilovolt or 765 kilovolt system. We have clear-cut visualization because we have monitoring stations which are otherwise called as transmission system operator. In India, it is regional load dispatch centers, state load dispatch centers. This is extended up to say 220 kV transmission lines and substations. That's why I have shown a clear-cut picture of the lines. What I mean by visualization, I or the operator who is sitting in the regional load dispatch center could see what is happening in the grid through real-time measurement and telemetering. If you go below 110 kV, where we live, 33 kV, 11 kV, 415 volt, at the tail end 230 volt, there is no real-time monitoring. First of all, there is no dedicated operator to look into the operation of the system. So there is no real-time monitoring, there is no visualization of the grid to understand what is happening. That's why it is shown as a black box. There may be meter tampering, there may be electricity theft. This is the point where we are integrating renewables, which is completely intermittent in nature. And nobody is worried about how much we are going to contribute to the grid, how much I am going to consume from my own installation. In the large scale, there is a one-day ahead market exists. Let it be an independent power producer or a central sector power producer. They have to involve in the one-day ahead market to fix the power flow transaction on a single line, which should be approved by POSOCO, Power System Operation Corporation of India. Then only the next day real-time power system is running. But in the distribution side, if you look at it, the loads are continuously changing and you will have the intermittent renewable energy integration at that side. Now it is not a problem because the ratio of renewable integration is less. That's why I ask you to think beyond 10 years, 15 years. Now we are all focusing on integrating a lot of renewable. So once it is integrated and if it is not properly monitored during the grid operation, the grid will face lot of difficulties to run smoothly, to run reliably, right? I will show you a snapshot from the generating power plant where you can appreciate lot of automation involved in the system. Left side you can see generator, turbine are standing. At the middle I am standing, right? After getting lot of permission, I shoot this picture in a generating power plant. And next to that you can see a control room where all the parameters are measured and transmitted to this control room. I visited one thermal power station during my undergraduate studies. If I remember correctly, it is during 1997-98. And last year I visited this power plant where I could see lot of changes in the control room. Generator, turbine remains the same. Anyway, there are also technology improvement, but drastic change you can observe in the control room with the help of lot of ICT, with the help of use of lot of ICT, information and communication technology. Keep this in mind. I'm not going in depth of this. We can discuss many things with one picture which is at the right side. Anyway, this is an introductory lecture, so I don't want to go in depth of that. You can see frequency variations, and you should understand that our grid frequency is stabilized based on a mechanism called ABT, availability based tariff, a penalty mechanism. That information you will be able to see. According to the ABT, you will be able to manage your power generation to support the grid frequency. And at the top you can notice that ABT EMS. In the right side picture you can see ABT EMS, availability based tariff energy management system. Okay, so the point what you have to remember here is most of the power generating stations have appreciable amount of automatic control systems. Not only generating stations, the transmission control center also. I hope you can see a snapshot of single line diagram of a state grid on the screen. I am checking whether my slides are changing in front of you. Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir, changing. Now it is in transmission sector.
Yeah. Yes. So the picture what is shown on the screen is a snapshot of State Load Dispatch Center of Karnataka Power Transmission Corporation Limited. You can see a single line diagram of the whole state grid. This is what I said, visualization of the grid. They are able to see where there is an over voltage, where there is an under voltage. You can see some buses are indicated with green color, some buses are in yellow color, some buses are in red color. And the transmission lines, what are the power flow in each and every transmission line? Where the capacitor is connected, where the inductor is connected. And they can even give telecommanding from this. They can give command to operate certain equipment at the substation either automatically or manually. Power Grid has already started implementing unmanned substations. So from regional load dispatch center, they can raise the command, telecommand. The command reaches the substation and activates the devices either to switch on or to switch off. In Tamil Nadu, we have at Chennai, we have a state load dispatch center. For Southern Regional Grid, we have at Bangalore. India has 5 regional load dispatch centers and 1 National Load Dispatch Center, where the complete grid is visualized. So again, the point to be kept in mind is we have appreciable amount of automatic control systems in the transmission sector. Because of that, we could do electricity market in wholesale. It's a wholesale market. One day ahead market is running in India. This happened because of the use of information and communication technology in power system operation. So as a power system engineer, we cannot refuse to learn other technologies. We cannot refuse. I cannot say I will read only power system analysis by Granger and Stevenson. Of course, that is a Bible to every power system engineer, but you need to have lot of additional information from your ancillary areas. Then only we can survive and we can work satisfactorily and we can do research wisely. And I'm coming to this slide, which is the snapshot of our distribution pole, which I have mentioned as a black box. Of course, this picture is downloaded from Google to show that nobody can identify immediately which line is connecting which house by looking at this pole. It is the scenario at many places as well as at many countries. Why? Very least importance is given to the distribution system. That is the major reason. Because the power handled is very less. Even if a consumer is not given power, okay, it is tolerable. If a consumer is provided power with low voltage, it is also tolerable. That's why less importance is given. There is no continuous monitoring. I will give you some unique characteristics of our distribution network. The distribution system feeds the load very extensive. Distribution system is very extensive if you, in terms of circuit kilometer, if you think. It is mostly passive. Okay, in the recent past, it started become little active. We are integrating some generations at the distribution network too. Otherwise, it was very passive. That's why people did not worry about that. There is very limited communication or no communication at all. No communication at all. No real-time monitoring of either the voltage being offered to a load or current being drawn by it. No real-time monitoring of either the voltage being offered to a load and current being drawn by it, both the way. As a consumer, nobody is monitoring my voltage profile. If over voltage is there, I have to survive with that. If under voltage is there, then also I have to survive. Okay, I can make a complaint. It will be rectified within a stipulated time. But there is no monitoring of the voltage profile. Similarly, what is the load I am connecting to the grid? That is also nobody is monitoring. I can connect any load in the circuit available at my home, the circuit available at our office. Whether it draws sinusoidal current or non-sinusoidal current, how much harmonics is present. Of course, it is monitored only at the high power level. For an industry, it is monitored. But for the residential consumers, it is not monitored. But we are also The residential consumers are also more in number in a given distribution system. Actually, in our institute, the machines lab students used to do grid connected induction generator experiment. Grid connected induction generator experiment. Grid connected solar PV experiment. Maybe in many institutes they will be doing it. I heard that many of the European countries, they can't do it. They will have a grid simulator. In that only they can integrate and do research or experiment. The actual grid, if they want to connect, because grid connected induction generator means you are going to inject some power into the grid. Whether it may be a lab or it may be an actual wind power plant, you are going to inject. If you are having a grid connected solar PV system, we are going to inject some power into the grid. Whether it is at lab or house or at the power plant. Anyway, we are injecting into the grid. For that, you have to get a lot of approval. Without that, we cannot inject. But we have freedom of doing that at the low voltage level. That's why we are not worried. Of course, we will worry if some monitoring system is there and if some standards are there. Of course, to the distribution system, it is not imposed very well. It is not imposed strictly.
சனிக்கிழமை வரைக்கும் பிஸிங்களா? ஓ சரிங்க. One second, Praveen.
Very little interaction between the loads and the power system other than supply of load energy whenever it is demanded. And we do not have any interaction between the grid. But at the transmission as well as generation level, there is a good interaction with the control center. We do not have any interaction. Of course, we don't want now. What for I have to integrate? Only for making the complaint, I have to interact. Or paying bill, I have to interact. For the electricity board, for giving me the bill, they are interacting. That's all. Then, other than that, whenever I switch on the load, I am getting some power, if power is available. Otherwise, there is no power. That is what the interaction now we have. But right now, people are moving towards two things. One is customer-centric system. Customer-centric system. You can understand. A very simple example, you can understand a supermarket and our ration shop. You are going to buy rice for your home. You think, when you go to a ration shop, you will buy whatever is available. There is no choice given to you. That's why you are called as consumer. Consumer card. Suppose if you visit a supermarket, somebody will be there to receive you first. And somebody will be there to show you what are the brands available. You can choose the brand what you want. Karnataka Ponni, Andhra Ponni, Tamil Nadu Manachanallur Ponni. No, I don't want anything. I will go with an idli rice. I can choose the brand. There it is customer centric. Of course, you will not find such a reception and guidance in the rice section when you visit a supermarket. If you go just enter the cosmetics section, you will get a lot of sales representatives approaching you to explain about their products. Eyeliner, I'm sorry to say all these things. Eyeliner, face wash, whatever it is, so many things. Soap, oil, hair dye. Their customer centric system is available. So now even the government as well as every entity is trying to satisfy the customers. So customer centric operation, first one. In terms of business, I am telling. You can see the business, what is happening in the communication sector. Let it be a satellite television or let it be a mobile communication. You can understand. Every company providing service, mobile service or satellite TV, they have customer care centers, CCC, in order to attract the customers. So when that will happen, whenever there is a competition. So first of all, in the electricity system, government is willing to introduce a competition. When there is a competition, there will be a customer-centric approach. Why customer-centric approach? If the quality is not there, if reliability is not there, people won't choose that service provider. So competition will make quality, competition will make reliability, competition will make reduction in the price of a same commodity. You can really appreciate the price reduction in data now, right? Mobile data. Earlier it was too expensive. Now you can see 2 GB, 3 GB data per day with 250 rupees recharge over a month. So many choices are there. That is because of the competition what is existing in the mobile communication. We will choose the brand which is providing quality service. One thing which is providing lot of freebies. Second thing, right? Okay. So competitive nature and customer centric approach. Then third one, as the growth of renewable energy into the grid is going to increase, we are slightly moving our system operation from load driven operation into generation driven operation. Right now we are in load driven operation. The load is forecasted first. According to the load, generators are dictated to work. That's why we have topics like unit commitment, economic dispatch, so many things. Because your load is known, it is first forecasted. Of course, there will be a change in load in real time. To tackle that, we should have reserve. So load curve is given to you and you drive the generators according to the load requirement. That is load driven approach. But in near future, we will be moving towards generation driven approach. I will be able to estimate what is the generation going to be available and I should drive the load accordingly. Because that is going to give me benefit. Why? More share is going to come from renewable, expected that the price will come down and I have to utilize the electricity whenever the price is less or whenever it comes from renewable, because that is considered to be a green energy. You have to support that. So I have to change the time of operation of my load according to the generation availability. That is what I pointed, generation driven approach. So when you want to do that, our grid should be slightly modified to accommodate certain features to handle that generation driven approach, customer centric approach and competitive scenario. What are the features? First one is predictivity. I have to predict the situations. First I have to predict the generation. Then I have to predict any danger situations or malfunctioning of any equipment in the grid. So I have to include predictivity feature into the grid. I have to give adaptivity feature. If something happens, we cannot predict everything and we cannot stop everything. If something happens, according to the situation, the grid has to adapt themselves and supply many number of consumers as possible. Many number of customers as possible. I'm sorry. Third one, optimization. I have to utilize the existing asset in the optimal way. I should not invest more on the asset. Asset means the transmission lines, substations, distribution lines, distribution transformers. Because load is growing, generation is growing, I should not keep on investing more on this infrastructure. I have to try to utilize the existing infrastructure in a better way. The best way is time shared operation. Time shared operation. Right? I can take my institute as an example. Say our maximum demand of our institute is 2.5 MVA or 2500 kVA. Sometimes we cross that 2500 kVA during summer times because of lot of use of air conditioners during the daytime. Of course, there will be a good option if we divide the time of operation of our working hours. Not all the departments or all the sections working at the same time. You time divide. Automatically, the amount of electricity usage reduces. Particularly, the number of units may remain same, but maximum demand will reduce. Because per kVA is 350 rupees maximum demand. If you cross your limits, the penalty is double the charge, 700 rupees per kVA. That can be avoided as a simple. So that is the utilizing the existing asset in a better way. I hope VIT is practicing that at least in the infrastructure way with large number of students, how to handle the existing infrastructure, time shared operation. By utilizing the asset in a better way, we can try to reduce the AT&C loss. Because maximum demand you are reducing, the maximum demand may be due to reactive current flow. If reactive current flow is reduced, automatically the losses will come down. Right? That is the point. Then, interactivity. I should have more interaction. Customer should be given option to interact with the grid. That is what the aim of future grid. Actually, nowadays, if you look at the European countries or books from European countries, they don't use the word smart grid. They use the word future grid. We want interaction of the customers with the grid operators in the future grid. And why we want interaction? To find out when I want to have an energy consumption. How do I modify my energy consumption pattern so that I will get benefited in terms of electricity price, grid will get benefited in terms of utilizing the asset in a better manner without any additional investment, without overloading any equipment. So good interaction is required. Then I want to have an integration. I want to combine the monitoring system, control system, protection system, and maintenance of the distribution network. Overall, I want to combine everything. Don't think that we are moving towards centralized operation. Still, we will be having distributed operation. But the combined operation, the better way is coordinated operation. I can say instead of combined, the coordinated operation. That is what integration. Earlier, the word integration used combining everything. Now, it is not combining. You have a coordinated operation. Some event should happen in your institute. There should be a coordination of many people. That is what the integration. Then that event becomes successful. It is not combining many people. It is the coordination of many people. So we want good coordination between monitoring system, control system, protection system, and the maintenance system in the distribution network mainly. Please keep it in mind. Whatever I am discussing is 90% available at the transmission sector. We are talking towards the improvement of distribution network. So what is the needed infrastructure change? I have a system network, particularly distribution network. In that, I want to integrate these two, information exchange and some part of intelligence. When I integrate these two into the existing network, that gives the birth of smart grid. Because smartness comes when you have both intelligence and information exchange capability together. If you do not have intelligence and only you are talkative, just collecting information from someone and just transferring the information to others. Take me, first of all. I read the book and just prepare the PPT and read the PPT. That is also an information exchange. I am taking from the book, exchanging information to you. So I am doing an exchange of information between book and you, which you can do. That I am doing. You will not make me as a smart teacher. And okay, I am intelligent, very intelligent. I am teaching the load flow analysis for last 20 years. Newton-Raphson method, Gauss-Seidel method. I am very intelligent. I can make the student to tackle the load flow analysis problem in an easy manner. I can tell him nook and corner of everything, whatever the question he asks, I am able to intelligently give reasons to the questions. But I am not updating myself to learn what is right now going on. Where this load flow analysis is used, first of all. I know how to do Newton-Raphson. Is that used in the power system operation? Where is it used? How do they use it? I have to explain to the student. So just giving an intelligence or just giving an information will not make you smart or will not make anyone smart. You need to have a lot of information and we need to have a lot of intelligence, and we should prepare the information in such a way that the customer requirement is satisfied. As a teacher, our customers are students. So their needs should be satisfied. Right? Their needs should be satisfied. So we have to integrate these two both. Otherwise, we will not become smart. Any system will not become smart. Grid will not become smart. So now, definition of smart grid. What is smart grid? A smart grid uses digital technology to improve reliability, security, and efficiency of the electric system from large generation through delivery systems to electricity consumers and a growing number of distributed generation and storage resources. I think you can understand. This is what I was discussing till now. We want a coordinated, integrated operation starting from generation through delivery systems with distributed generation and storage resources. Which technology is helping us? The digital technology is going to help us to improve the overall efficiency. Please understand both economic and energy efficiency, the overall system efficiency. Don't consider only the technical point of view, output by input. The overall system efficiency, security and reliable operation. This definition is given by the United States Department of Energy. Every country, they started giving their own definition. If you look at the European definition, you can see the same meaning in different words. They said smart grid is an electricity network that can intelligently integrate the actions of all users connected to it. UK defined smart grid as, it's a complete definition, whatever required to think about smart grid: sensing, embedded processing, digital communication. For what? To enable electricity grid to be observable, measured and visualization, controllable, completely automated and fully integrated. For that you contribute anything that will become a smart grid. As I said, we are also not far away from the implementation of smart grid in India. So the definition of smart grid is included in the Amendment of Electricity Act 2003. The Indian government defines smart grid as an electricity network that uses information and communication technology to gather information. Please understand, I am giving pass. So you use ICT to gather information. Smart grid doesn't stop there. Now many scholars having a misconception on that. Gathering information, because there are a lot of ICT technologies available now to gather information. IoT, cloud computing. So what people think, you collect information, put it in cloud, show somewhere else in the laptop or in mobile, then you are working in smart grid. It is not. Please keep it in mind. It is only gathering information. Subsequently, you have to act intelligently. You have to act intelligently. So you have to derive certain mechanism or certain conclusion. For that you have to do certain analysis on the collected data. Intelligently you do analysis. Either you use your intelligence or try to use an artificial intelligence system to act on the data. After that, after arriving some conclusion, you do an action in an automated manner. Okay, automated manner. Action should be automated. For what? To improve the efficiency, reliability, economic, sustainability of generation, transmission and distribution of electricity. Without doing that, we cannot say that I am working in smart grid projects. People think just connect a smart meter at your home, collect the data in your laptop, show it. Yes, sir, I have implemented a smart grid project. Install a PV system in the rooftop. Collect all the data through the software given by the supplier. Show it on, plot the graph. Sir, now the real time the data is available on your screen. So this is the smart grid implementation. No, not at all. It is only 25% of the purpose of smart grid. Collecting the data. Of course, we are living in a data-driven system. Data is collected. After that, for what the collected data is used, that is very important. You do an analysis on that. Arrive at a conclusion. Can I work on certain improvement for the same system? You implement that improvement in an automatic manner. Then you can say that I have contributed to smart grid. Right? Okay. So when I say all these things, communication, If you are a people from utility, they will ask all this communication we are using. What sir you are telling? Simply communication. Without communication, power system is not working. 100% true. Starting from the past, say in 1947, 1990s, 50, 1960, communication is very well used in the operation of power sector. In the past, they used telephones or PLCC, power line carrier communication. And in the present, as I said, we are having control centers, regional load dispatch center, state load dispatch center, which collects information through a dedicated optical fiber communication, and they do telecommanding. Still, the power system is utilizing the technology of communication very, very well. Otherwise, we cannot live with a good power system. I think all of you can appreciate what happened during this pandemic situation when our Honorable Prime Minister proposed an event to switch off the lights in an evening. Everyone expected that there may be a grid collapse because there is a sudden drop in load. But that situation was handled very successfully by the utility engineers. It is because of the implementation of a lot of ICT technologies. They can do it very quickly, automatically, slowly. They can ramp up the generation, ramp down the generation. But what is the future technology need? The need is last mile connectivity. The tail end customer of electricity should be able to communicate to that control center, which is going to be called as distribution control center or distribution management system. The tail end consumer should be able to control their appliances automatically. The tail end customer should be able to contribute to the grid in terms of energy that they generate at their home. So the extension of communication along with power generation, power transmission till the tail end of the distribution network is the expected future. Then people may ask, what is the challenge in that? Already it is done in transmission system. Why don't you do that? Please look at that extensive distribution network, which is very large in circuit kilometers and which is reaching each and every consumer. You cannot lay a dedicated optical fiber cable that has been done between a large substation and the control center. We cannot invest on that. There where we have to look into different communication technologies, what are coming up, and we are trying to use it. So smart grid has so many components, starting from automation, integration of renewables, incorporation of electric vehicles and storage technologies, and several smart appliances. When I say smart appliances, definitely all of you can appreciate the smart appliances what we have now. Smartphone, smart television. Only these two we are enjoying right now because we are able to connect to the internet, to browse, to WhatsApp. And we have smart air conditioners, smart refrigerators. Later on, we will have smartness in all the electrical appliances. What do we do with that smartness? We have to try to contribute to the grid operation. That's why we have demand participation. Demand side we are going to contribute. Demand side we are going to contribute in the system operation. And system is going to give us a lot of tariff options so that we will be flexible in consuming energy. What is the advantage they are going to get? The top one. Assessment, asset management they will get. according to the situation of the present grid, they can announce different schemes. Since we are integrated with the grid through communication network and automated, our loads can be flexible to accept the request as well as to respond. So at present, we can list the smart grid technologies as fax devices and implementation of PMU. These two are not on distribution side, but still in some literature they consider these two as smart grid technologies because they are going to improve the efficiency of the system, improve the visualization of the system. So these two are considered to be as smart grid technologies applicable for transmission system. With respect to distribution system, we have DGs, distributed generation and microgrids, implementation of SCADA and distribution automation. Now, many of the cities' distribution network are embedded with SCADA systems. That is again one of the government initiative, which is called as APDRP program. Distribution automation. Substations, they wanted to do automated substations. That will make a lot of cost savings in terms of equipment as well as operation efficiency will be obtained. They call that as digital substations. Then AMR, automatic meter reading. Finally, you can do demand side management. So a comparison I can share with you. This is a comparison which I have taken from Power and Energy magazine between today's grid and the smart grid. I will not say in the smart grid because it is not available now. So it is the comparison between today's grid and expected future grid. Main thing what you have to concentrate is participation, customer participation. Now it is limited. You will have very active contribution or participation. Generation will become more distributed, and market, there will be a retail market introduced at the customer end. And we will have variable loads. Note on. Generation driven approach. Load is going to change according to the generation availability or energy availability. Finally, smart grid enables utilities to increase energy productivity and power reliability while empowering customers to better manage their electricity usage and cost through real-time information exchange. This is what the motto of smart grid. Energy productivity should be improved, power reliability should be enhanced, and customers should be satisfied finally, and they should be able to manage the usage of electricity to suit the generation availability with reduced cost. All this will happen with the help of real-time information exchange. So what is the need and how do we achieve that? The technology which are helping to us are the internet first, which is helping us to handle more data in a faster manner because the technology is growing 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Our data is also huge in size. Look at the number of customers, number of distribution transformers available in a city. So compared to transmission network, our distribution network data is going to be huge. How to handle that? I can say I want to transfer the data. Do you have data speed to transfer? Do you have bandwidth to transfer such a data? Yes, internet technology is growing. We can borrow the technology to do it. Do you have technology to analyze those? Yes, computer science, they are introducing new big data analysis. We can have. So smart grid is considered as an opportunity to use ICT technologies, whatever the technology available in information and communication, to revolutionize the electric power system. Challenge, yes, I need to go with lot of investment. So there should be a compromise. Which is required, which is not required, I have to decide. Then, second one, we are want to conserve conventional energy. We want to conserve fossil fuels. As well as we want to save the environment from greenhouse gas emissions. So emissions should be reduced. So I want to concentrate on renewable energy sources. But again, they are very intermittent. They are going to have a lot of challenge when the part of contribution from renewable is going to exceed the part of contribution from conventional synchronous machine based power plants. That needs the energy storage as well as energy management at the demand side. Please remember. So when we want to do that, such kind of demand side energy management, definitely we need a lot of communication between the distribution management system and the customer. Smart meter is going to help us to achieve that. Again, the challenge is installation cost as well as the infrastructure installation. It takes time. Of course, we have a lot of projects going on in India at many states, many places with different communication technologies. I don't want to go in depth of that now. So we will achieve all these things within next few years. There are a lot of drives. I highlight a few. First one is AT&C loss reduction, AT&C loss reduction, which is around 23% in the Indian distribution system, and Government of India recommends to reduce it to 10%. So every utility is trying to adopt different techniques to reduce the loss. Technical loss reduction is challenging, but commercial loss you can reduce if you have proper energy recording, auditing, and theft identification or tamper identification. So for that, our initiation on smart grid technologies will definitely help. Definitely the cost of electricity is expected to reduce. Asset management, good grid visibility is expected to provide self-healing or fast restoration of electricity for the faulted consumers. With respect to customer, the drive required is I want 24/7 power. Not only power, I want reliable power. In between there should not be any power cut. I want quality power. I should not use voltage stabilizers. Then only I can say I am getting good quality power. Right? This is what the customer requirement. User-friendly and transparent interface. There should not be any manual intrusion in the meter reading. There should not be any manual intervention in the billing. I should get the bill automated way, and the payments should be accurate and right time payment so that company will get revenue at the right time. And I want increased choices. I want choice in the power distribution. Now there is no choice. Prosumer enablement. Let me to generate my own power. If I have excess power, let it means to sell to the grid. Now people are thinking, can I sell electricity what I am generating to my neighbor? Can I sell the electricity what I am generating to my neighbor? That is what the expectation now. Then government wants to satisfy the customer. They want to have financially sound utility. The power companies should be financially sound. They should not go in loss, and there should be different tariff system. Tariff system should be upgraded regularly, and reduction in emission. This is what the requirement of government and regulators. Regulator means regulatory commissions. So we want to satisfy the requirement of utility, requirement of customer, requirement of the government. The need is try implementing some of the smart grid technologies. So here I want to show some pictures which are the contributions from our research scholars. I'm not going to explain in deep because you will have a dedicated lectures on every one of these topics. First one is the microgrid. You should be able to work with the microgrid. When you have a microgrid, completely generation driven operation, not load driven operation. So you need to have a very good controller for that. The generation may be distributed geographically. Loads are definitely distributed. So you should have a better communication between the controller, what you are going to have in the system, and the load points, generation points. So you need definitely depend on some of the ICT technologies to operate a microgrid successfully. You need sensing, you need embedded system, you need a communication. In addition to the engineering knowledge on power generation systems. And so when you want to communicate with the customer, you need to have a smart meter which should be capable of handling, measuring sinusoidal and non-sinusoidal currents, current drawing loads, and it should be capable of communicating with the customer mobile. It should be capable of communicating with the control center to transmit your energy consumption details, and it should be able to adapt to the tariff structures. And you will be able to develop a visualization system to enable the customer as well as the utility people to understand the voltage profile, your load profile, and how much load is utilized at different time period at your home, as well as your electricity charges. That will motivate the customer to change their behavior. What is your present consumption? What is the rate of consumption? What is the rate at which you are purchasing electricity? What is going to be your electricity bill at the end of 2 months or 1 month according to the tariff structure? And if you have a good artificial system, you can even suggest the customer to alter their pattern so that the electricity bill can be reduced. So when you have all these things, you will have a better network in a living area. Within the house, we will have a communication between our electrical appliances and smart meter. Number of smart meters will be communicating with each other, and they will be transferring data to the data collector, which is located at the distribution management system. So we will have CAN, NAN, and WAN established for power system network. In future, we are going to have a home like this, where we will be having renewable energy integration, plug-in electric vehicles, and lot of smart appliances, and we will be dealing some power trading between the grid as well as to our neighbors. I'll show you 1 or 2 clips here. Yeah. So this is what the present idea, what I was telling you, establishing the microgrid and in making a building net zero energy building. All those are the concepts already people are working. And now people are thinking about doing a business in the electricity, peer-to-peer energy trading. Can I sell power to the grid as well as can I sell power to my neighbors? Yes, you can do. There are a lot of scope is available not only for electrical engineering. You can develop a market. How do you implement a market in real time? There are a lot of challenges which can be tackled by the research scholars. Of course, finally, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which is the future transport, right? You see, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, not only simple EV. As far as I myself is concerned, as well as the literature which I have gone through, we cannot completely eliminate IC engines. Similarly, we cannot completely eliminate all synchronous machine-based power systems, synchronous machine-based power plants in the large grid. Then we have to face a lot of difficulty here also. That's why plug-in hybrid electric vehicle will be succeeding the market, I hope. You will have IC engine as well as electric propulsion system. You can drive the vehicle with petrol, you will drive the vehicle with battery. So you can see here, petrol tank, you can fill the petrol as well as the electric charger also, you can charge. Okay. So you can see that charging at home, charging at a public charging station, charging at a parking slot, many options are available. And this picture shows you a structure of a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Anyway, I will not go in depth of that, but with this kind of plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, our electrical engineers are dreaming, can I use this as a distributed energy storage? Because it has a battery. Definitely, people will do a lot of research and invent a battery technology which can be quickly charged. Because then only the electric vehicle will become successful. Right? If your charging time is long, nobody will buy. So quick charging batteries will come definitely. Research is going on. Of course, I have a good power electronic device or a power electronic system which can transfer power bidirectionally, IGBT based inverters. Research is going at that side also. So as a power system engineer, what should I think? How can I use both? Take a bidirectional inverter, take a energy storage in the vehicle, integrate with my system, think about any advantage you can get. Yes, I can use it at my home, which is vehicle to home. I can use it to charge some other vehicle, vehicle to vehicle. I can pool the vehicle, so many vehicles. I can pool so many vehicles and support the energy stored in the vehicle battery to support the grid, that is vehicle to grid. For that, you need 100% utilization of information and communication technology, because not only energy transaction, it involves money transaction. So secured transaction is very important, right? So a business model should be whether can I go for 1 day ahead market or hourly market, or within 10 minutes can I have an electricity market. All those things should be taught before implementation. So we have lot to think and lot to study and work. And there are so many challenges. Okay, we will not worry about these challenges now, right now. Don't think that whatever I am talking here will not be realizable, because we have undergone so many technology changes. Starting from this phone, we are living with smartphone. Starting from this classroom, we have moved to the classroom which we are doing right now. There is a technology change which happened in a short duration, right? Because of ICT. In power technology, PMUs are slowly getting integrated to aid this SCADA system already available. We are accepting the technology, we are changing. Collecting from the grid, every building is now looking into solar power. We are adapting ourselves to this technology change. The grand change is having an internet lab at every institute or internet cafe at every street. Now we have moved to internet in our pocket. That is the drastic change in technology. Definitely, this technology will help us to grow a lot. Within next 10 years, we will be able to realize the expected future grid. So I conclude with the words that sustainable grid is the smart grid. What is expected as a power system engineer is energy generation from renewable sources, energy conservation, and efficient energy management using ICT. You plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, now it is coming. Within next 2 years, something else will come. But our objective is manage the energy efficiently using ICT. Whatever may be the equipment, I don't worry as a power system engineer. Our aim in terms of smart grid is efficient energy management using ICT. So I conclude with these quotes by Danny Johnson. Never stop being teachable. I read the next sentence by replacing the word you with we. If we think we know everything, we will never learn anything. So these words should be in our mind, at least when you attend these kind of FDPs. Every teacher is becoming student here. So we should first forget that I know everything in this field. Every point given by the speaker will give you a new knowledge, and at least one point will ignite you to do or to grow in your research field. So please follow that and learn well and do a great work. Thank you for your attention, and if there are any queries, I will be happy to answer. And before that, I would like to acknowledge my research scholars, Dr. Dastagiri Reddy, Dr. Venkatraman, Dr. Arun, and Mr. Sasham and Mr. Hanumandarao, who have contributed a lot in this future grid technologies, which helped me to present a satisfied presentation in front of you. Thanks a lot. If there are any queries, I will take up now.
Thank you, sir. Participants can now raise your questions to our sir.
And if there are any questions arising right now, always you can contact me through my email. I am giving my email in the chat box, selvanmp@nitt.edu. So any kind of queries related to this topic, I am happy to answer.
Sir, there is a question in chat box. What are the scope and research areas in this field? Asked
What
by
is the
Suman
scope?
Sharma.
Yeah, Mr. Suman Sharma, what are the scope and research areas in this field? I said you, each and every point is having a scope. Okay, you try, if you are an electrical engineer, you think about the operation of power system, where you can improve the efficiency, whatever it may be, operational efficiency or economical efficiency, through employing any ICT technologies. We are going to borrow and use it and improve the efficiency, show that yes, I have made 10% improvement. That is going to give you a good appreciation. So in that way, scope is there everywhere, right? As I said, the distribution system operation should be improved. In what are the ways you can improve? You can go with integration of renewable. And it has a lot of challenges, so you can manage how to operate the renewable sources. Then second thing, we can have some kind of automation in the substation as well as distribution system operation. So there you can go. Energy savings, you can concentrate, street lighting, and you can have energy saving at your house, how to use residential appliances. So home energy management system, there is a lot of scope. Before that, if you have a big building like an institute, there we can concentrate how to make the building sustainable without drawing any energy from the grid or less energy from the grid, by having our own installation and managing our energy requirement using the present installation available at our area. So there are a lot of scopes. And third thing, as I said, the present topic people are talking is two things. This transactive energy, there is a scope. There is a scope on EV. Yeah. Next question is, what about the V2G scope in India? Have you asked or have you thought the question of smartphone? What is the scope of smartphone in India when you were living in 2000? I'm sorry to ask this question to you. Simply I'm asking. In 2000, nobody thought about that you and me will be talking like this in Google Meet. Nobody thought that we will have an online classroom situation. Technology changes. So right now, if you think that whether in V2G is possible in India, yes, of course it is possible, but for that, a lot of changes should happen. Definitely. That's why I have shown you the technology changes which we are adapting. Definitely we will go to this also. But time involved will be more. It takes long time. Next day it will not happen. Tomorrow or next month, next year, next 5 years, it will not happen. Because now we do not have EV or PHEV on road. We have, but it is more expensive. So we should adopt that. Mobile phone, when it became very popular, when the mobile phone was sold with 1,000 rupees, smartphones now you will be able to get with 6,000 rupees. That's why every one of us are having at least 2 mobile phones in our pockets. So cost involved, that matters. Technology is different, affordability is different. Everything is possible, but everything is affordable. That is the question. V2G, why not? It is possible. It is possible. But affordability, technology, adaptation, it involves investment. So people will think about returns, right? So it takes time. The scope is there. It will happen after 10 to 15 years according to me. Transactive management, transactive energy management. Okay, transactive energy management is trading between consumers. I can trade electricity with my neighbor. That is called transactive energy management. I will not depend on, instead of buying power from grid, I will be able to buy power from my neighbor if there is any price difference. That is what transactive energy. Yes,
Any other
peer to
questions
peer.
from
Of course, you are right. Peer to peer. Peer to peer is the process. Transactive energy management is the name of the process. Thank you.
I think Suman Sharma has cleared his doubt right now. And any other questions from participant side?
Fasila, we can wind up because it is getting late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Binu and Dr. Premalata, madam, for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you. I leave the meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you. Yeah, Fasila, can you make the announcement, please? Let the participants take a break for 10 minutes and they can join by 11:40. Fasila, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. If there is any announcement, you can say now. Otherwise,
Sure, ma'am.
let us start at 11:40.
Vinu sir, First